Welcome to
the most epic Holly Jolly
Christmas Showdown.
I'm Amanda Figueroa.
And I'm Adriana York, formerly Figueroa.
And we are just two sisters who love Christmas and competition. Welcome to the podcast for those who are returning, and welcome to new listeners, whoever you are. We are so glad that you guys are here.
So grateful. The Christmas fam is growing. We love to see it.
We love it. We know that there's Christmas lovers out there. We're just trying to reach out to you guys.
Yeah. We know that there's a little Santa believer in everybody.
Yep. So if you enjoy this episode, we have many more. You can find us on, if you're listening to us, on whatever streaming platform you're on. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcast. We are also on YouTube if you are watching us. And and we have an Instagram and a TikTok that we're currently working through. So you can be a part of helping us build that up as well. So find us at Holly Jolly Christmas Pod for Instagram and TikTok.
Yep.
You
could be a founding follower.
Pretty much. I mean, we have ideas. We just want to know what people would want to see.
Yeah, I've written down ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting somewhere.
Somewhere. Honestly, right now, we're just like, let's get consistent. That's all we need.
Yeah, we're just trying to make it, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways, so to start off our episodes, we always do our weekly Christmas cheers.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you see Christmas in some way, shape, or form this past week?
So mine is a roundabout way, again, of Christmas cheer. So I love books. I love to read. I've always, not always, but since I was young, I've really liked to read. So I haven't been reading a lot lately, and it's made me sad.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
I've read more books than her this year, and I'm not a reader.
I know. And I was like, she's in a book club, like, so she has motivation. But I really wanted to get back into reading, so I've taken it upon myself to read. I have the 10th year Twilight anniversary book where she did the reimagined, like, gender swap role. And I'm reading both of those simultaneously right now. It's very nerdy, and I just wanted to see the different writing styles, like, side by side, and see, like, how the stories just vary a little bit, even though it's the same story. But it's been really fun. And that's my nerdy weekly Christmas cheer, because I'm actually getting back into reading, and I'm really excited.
Yeah. That's so thrilling. Well, my weekly Christmas cheer is I am wearing these Santa hat slippers that got for Christmas. Me and Amanda were supposed to have matching shoes, but somewhere in the shipping process it got lost.
Yeah.
And they've been sitting in my room for a while because I was like, okay, well, who's going to wear them first? So I wore them, and I like them.
Nice.
So I'm keeping them.
I'm glad.
I'm excited because all of my house slippers are Christmas themed. Mm-hmm. My other house slippers say Mama Elf.
They do. She wears those a lot. Doesn't matter time or place.
No.
Yeah.
It's Christmas all year round.
All year round.
Duh.
And that's how we do it. You know, Garrett's getting used to that. He's like, a Christmas movie? And I was like, yeah.
Yes.
So much so that when we were hanging out, he goes, Christmas with the Cranks, do you want to watch it? It's a Christmas movie. And he goes, you should cover this for your podcast. I'm like, Reddy did.
You're behind.
Last season.
That's so last season.
Yeah. But it was funny because he was like, yeah, that's a good movie. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to have to get used to Christmas.
Yeah. Well, if you are new around here, the way that our episodes work is that we start off with a pretty detailed summary of the movie. So if you don't like spoilers, pause here and go find the movie. Today we are covering A Country Christmas Story. You can find it on Freevee and Tubi, Amazon Prime Video,
Hulu.
It's
just
a lot of different places. So yeah, if you don't like a spoiler, go watch it because we're gonna spoil the movie. Absolutely, it's gonna happen. But if you don't mind a spoiler and kind of want to know what you're getting into before you watch the movie, then stay tuned. We're going to tell you all about it. And after our summary, we jump into our scoring, and we use 5 different categories to score our movies, which are plot, main character, aesthetic, overall Christmas cheer, and supporting characters. Then we round it off with a cringe factor, because you have to acknowledge the cringe that comes with some of these Christmas movies. And then we finish off with the overall total and see where the movie falls in the category. This is movie 3 of 4.
Movie 3 of 4.
And Carol of the Bells.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to know who our first playoff contestant is after this episode.
I think we have an idea.
I mean, I'm certain I know which one.
I'm certain. Based on my own scores.
We will see. You never know. Like, I was shocked by a Charlie Brown Christmas last year.
Yeah, you didn't really like that one.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to go far, and it did.
It went really far.
Semis?
Yeah, semis. It was Final Four.
Wow.
Yep.
So, who knows? Maybe a country Christmas story is Final Four material.
The laugh is an indication of what's to come.
Okay, without further ado, let's get into it. This 2013 Lifetime musical stars Dolly Parton and Desiree Ross, who plays Grace Gibson, our aspiring country music artist. We begin the movie at a country music competition where Dolly Parton is preparing to share the winner of the competition. We then jump to a year earlier, where we see Grace performing at a Christmas concert at church and are introduced to her mom, Jenny, and her grandmother, Sarah. Right after the concert, we are also introduced to the tension between Jenny and Grace. And Jenny and music? It's weird.
Yeah.
And we learn that Grace's father is no longer in the picture, and all that he has left them is unpaid bills and a storage unit full of stuff. After clearing out the storage unit, Jenny and Grace go through the items where Grace finds her father's old guitar. Jenny is infuriated when she hears Grace playing it and demands that she gets rid of it, so Grace instead asks her grandmother to hide it for her. Jenny and Grace spend the holidays together where the tension between the two continues to grow. Grace is determined to learn to play the guitar and enlists her choir director's help. And during this time, Grace learns of the country music competition, and her choir director encourages her to consider applying for it. Jenny finds out Grace has been sneaking behind her back to learn to play the guitar and confronts her choir director about it. In an attempt to squash Grace and her dreams of music, Jenny tries to sell the guitar at the flea market, where Grace's choir director buys it back for Grace.
Mm-hmm.
This move and Grace's desire to pursue music is what lands her a spot at her grandmother's house. Grace continues to improve her musical talents and applies for the competition, and her song ends up landing her a spot in the finals. One day, Jenny comes home to find Grace's dad there, and their 3-year-long argument continues to gain heat, and we learn more about Grace's father's history and his reason for leaving. At this point, apologies are shared and relationships begin the repairing process. The finals roll around, and with the support of her family and friends, Grace performs her original song. Ultimately, she doesn't win, but she has found her confidence in music, her parents are reconciled, and the family spends Christmas together. And that is a country Christmas story.
Wait, I just put it together. This whole competition took a whole year?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. It's wild.
Right?
Yeah, no, you're right. Because it's the finals is 1 year later, then there's 1 year earlier, and it's like...
Yeah, this whole movie is supposed to span a year.
Okay. That is something else to consider.
My summary was 2.5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, you were very generous. There's a lot of back and forth that happens in the summary, but it's not necessary. It's just, she got the big parts, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so let's jump into it. Plot.
I give plot 1.5 candy canes out of 5 candy canes.
I gave plot 2 candy canes out of 5 candy canes.
I felt like the plot was written by a 12-year-old. I'm sorry. That's how it felt.
Yeah.
It was like an emotional roller coaster, but like unnecessary.
Yeah. It was tough.
It was rough.
Like not in a sad emotional way. It was just tough to get through.
Well, they needed a direction. That was the biggest thing. They needed to choose a direction and just run with it. But instead of focusing on one storyline, I saw like 3 possible branches, and they're like, you know what? Let's just throw it all in there and let's see what happens. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, it was so really the only things that I noted were like things that were like, what in the world? Like, where did this come from? And there was so many things that were like, what in the world? Where did this come from? Because we have the tension between Jenny and Grace, and then we have the tension between Jenny and Sarah, and then we have the choir director who's helping Grace, and then we have the tension between Jenny and Grace's dad, Danny, and then we have like Grace missing Danny, and then we have Grace wanting to pursue music, and then we have Danny pursuing music but not being good at it, and then like and then like there's just, you know, Danny's like not showing up for his daughter, and like everybody in the town knows Danny and supports him, but like he doesn't take time to see his daughter. It's just
it almost felt like they were setting up the choir director to be like the father figure of her life, but then all of a sudden the actual father shows up, so then he's like not important anymore. Like the choir director is very important for like the first 20 minutes of the movie, like integral, invested. Like when he buys back the guitar, it's a huge deal. Like there's
a scene that's caused
this whole thing. So it seemed like he was going to play a bigger role, and then all of a sudden they're like, actually, we don't want him to be with Jenny. Like, that's not the storyline we're going to go with. We're actually going to bring the dad back and somehow make him fatherly after he's been kind of a deadbeat. You know, he's left his family and he's not making any money. Obviously, he's not paying for anything. So Jenny's like, throwing your stuff out, and all of a sudden, Father of the Year. It was...
It was so odd. Okay, and what's crazy, and then eventually we'll have to talk about like what was good about the movie. What's crazy is like, okay, so Jenny is white, Danny is black, so therefore Grace is biracial. And that was just randomly thrown in there like 3 times. Literally one time was like, do you think Grace is talking to her choir director, and she's like, do you think they're really going to sell a black girl? That was also a weird way of putting it. Second time, her mom is talking, like she told her mom about the competition, and she's like, what, a biracial girl singing country?
I was like, oh my gosh. First of all,
the third time was when she made it into the finals, and it was announced, and somebody at the bar that Danny works at was like, hey, Danny, there's this black girl who made it into these finals.
No, you missed it too, because there's a fourth time when they were doing the little interview with all the finalists, and they're like, how does it feel to be the only African-American contestant that's made it into the finals? And she goes, well, I'm half white and I'm half black. She goes, but both sides are the same because I'm terrified, or something like that. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, choose a direction. Also,
there was literally no other mention of like a black girl performing country music other than those 4 times.
But
yeah,
I guess what I would say that I liked about it was
I liked that she lost.
I liked that as well, because I felt like, you know, it shows like she still appreciated what she got out of the experience. But in that, I also was like, it seemed like she was just like, okay, I'm kind of like done pursuing music at the end of it. I don't know. So
yeah, I kind of liked how like realistic it was. Like, it's definitely not like my childhood or anything, but I could see this being a very realistic situation for a kid. And so I was like, that's nice that they're like, yeah, this may be the situation that you're in, but you never know like where your future is going to lead. So that was like, could be encouraging for some viewers.
I liked that with Jenny's situation, a lot of movies make it seem like this is just a wild child that, like, did something crazy and this is, like, her consequence of, like, you know, getting married young, having a child, and then, you know, like, they could have totally gone with the, I told you so, you shouldn't have been with that rugrat. But it was actually different. Her mom went through a similar situation. So it was like, I liked that part of it where I wish they leaned into that tension a little bit more because they had this huge argument, Jenny and Sarah, and it was like Jenny like finally expressed, you never let me dream. And what, now you're telling me to let her dream?
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like, that was a good touch that I wish that they opened up a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. They just didn't, like you mentioned earlier, they didn't know exactly what direction they wanted to go in. So they went in all of the directions.
Yeah.
About a foot deep. Main character or characters, who did you say?
So I had a hard time. I was sitting there for a while, and I came down to Grace and Jenny. Because felt like Jenny played way too much of significance for her to not be a main character.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I said Grace and Jenny as well.
I gave them 1.5 candy canes out of 5.
I gave them 2 candy canes out of 5. So I'll start with what I like about them.
Okay.
I liked Grace's like fire to go after learning to play the guitar.
Yeah.
And I like how a little bit sassy she was about it. She was like, well, you're not going to get in the way of me playing the guitar. Like, I'm going to go do it. And she obviously loved music from the beginning. So I liked that. And then I liked that Jenny did eventually, like, just swallow the massive pill. And, like, she was like, okay, like, I need to be supportive of my daughter, and this is what she wants to do, and I can't let my past hurt me. Yeah. That did take about 50 minutes into the movie for her to learn that. But she learned it. And so that was good.
The only good I would say for me came from Grace. I didn't like Jenny at all.
I mean, I still don't like her, but I liked that she eventually was like, let me get over myself.
That's fair. I liked Grace because, like you said, she was a bit fiery, and I thought that there were some lines, like the interview, how she answered it, it was kind of cringy, but it was also not bad. Like, I kind of chuckled at it. So she was decent, and obviously she fueled the plot, so you have to give her that. And Jenny, what I'll give her is that in her role, her animosity towards Grace and her pursuing music further pushed her into this plot of going to do the music competition. So, that's what I'll say about Jenny. But other than that, their dynamic was so toxic.
Very awful. But I made a note that the way that Grace speaks to Jenny is exactly the way that Jenny speaks to Sarah.
Yes.
And I was like, whoa, dude, that was trippy.
Yeah,
just
that is true.
Watch it all.
There were these outbursts that Grace had, like, in defiance, that, I mean, it had our eyebrows raising.
I'm still shook it.
Our mom was in the room watching it with us, and there was this one time, like, her mom was mad at her for lying to her about the guitar and things like that, and she's like, we're selling it at the flea market, and she goes, you need to help me get ready for the flea market. She goes, you can do it yourself. That's, like, tame. She said something, like, I don't remember the lines, but it was...
Yeah, she said a few lines in there that I was like, oh, man.
And I remember I just, like, looked over at my sister, and she's like, open mouth, jaw dropped. And then we looked over at my mom, and she's like, shaking her head. She's like, oh, she goes, if you guys talk to me like that. And I was like, well, I wouldn't even dare. Like,
yeah, no.
yeah.
And that happened a few times.
It happened quite a few
Where
times.
Grace was speaking like that to Jenny, and I was like, oh, whoa, cool.
And then
I wouldn't be able to see tomorrow, but
yeah, no. And Jenny herself was a child. That was also the hard thing to deal with, is that she never really fully grew up. And so in some ways I can understand that Grace has these emotional outbursts, because her mom herself is very childish. And that was tough to deal with too, because then she's like, I'm an adult and you wait till you grow up. And I'm like, Jenny, let's be honest here, honey.
Have you grown up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jenny was just so annoying.
She was.
She was a child. And then she just like, she would melt around Danny. Like, she was so mad at him. She couldn't stand his guts. But then he's like, you look good. She said,
yeah.
Stop it. How many girls do you say that to? Like,
oh my goodness, yeah. Ugh.
Disgusting. And then she takes him back at the end.
Oh, yeah. Like, we don't see anything like, of like, oh, there could be a rekindling. No. We see Grace look at a mirror.
I'm sure we missed some sort of conversation.
I don't think so. I think they jumped straight into, because we were actually paying attention towards the end.
Yeah.
Like, a little bit more closely than at the beginning, because we watched the beginning, like, the first 15 minutes, like, 5 times.
Yeah. You're right.
But all of a sudden they're kissing. That's it. And you're like, okay. And Grace is like, my parents are back together. And I'm thinking, that's not a good home life situation in the making.
No.
Because they never fixed any conflict.
Yeah.
Like, the same problems that they had before, they're going to still be there.
Yeah.
Aesthetic. What'd you give it?
So, I gave it 3 candy canes out of 5.
I gave it 2.5 candy canes out of 5.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't spectacular. It didn't transport me into a different world, but it did take me, like, into their world a bit. I just felt like the mess of their house was just very fitting, and I mean, their outfits weren't too much to know about, but like, they fit. It fit. It looked realistic, so it was good-ish.
Yeah, I would say it was fairly average.
Yeah.
One thing that I really still got confused about was, it's like the competition is like Country Singers of Tomorrow or something like that. And you have the 2 other finalists, and they're like decked out country. And then she shows up in like this sparkly dress and like this sparkly headband. And I'm not saying that she couldn't wear that and not be a country singer, but I think what was so confusing for me is that the entire movie, she wants to be a country music star, but they never give in to like the country aspect. She's more like R&B or like jazz or something weird. Like,
yeah, the rest of the music throughout the movie is jazzier.
Yeah. And
I don't know what you would categorize that last song as.
I have no idea either. That one. I don't know what they were going for, because she wasn't fitting the country.
Okay, I was just watching it, and we have to talk about the music.
Yeah.
Because it is aesthetic. So, tell me why the adult choir at the church, it's like a gospel type sound, and the music director is definitely white. And nobody's saying anything about that, but they're freaking out about a black girl doing country music.
That's another one that, yeah, I was like, I don't know why the race thing came into play in this town when you had a full-on black gospel choir, but then you look at the kids choir and she's the only colored one.
Bro, it makes no sense.
Everyone else was white in the kids choir, but then you have a full-on black choir for adults and then a white choir director.
Yeah. Can we also talk about how there was definitely one voice actor singing like her first part when she had a solo with the choir,
Yeah.
and then there was definitely another one
singing
her original song.
I was gonna say that because when I first watched the movie, I sat there and I was thinking, how are they gonna make this a country music star? Because she came out R&B.
Belting it. Yeah.
That was gospel music. And then
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she's going to be a country music star. And she had like a deeper voice at the beginning. And then all of a sudden,
She sounds 8 years old at the end.
Yeah.
During the competition.
Mom. I don't even... The music, the song, I was like...
I hate that song. I hate it so much.
I know. It's just basically like her saying that she wants things to go back the way that they used to. And like...
And putting all of her family drama out there.
Yeah. Like basically...
It was not well written, guys. It was not.
It was supposed to be endearing, but she literally called out both her parents. Sometimes I feel like more like her mom. Like she dissed her mom. And then her dad was like...
absolutely did.
She's like, Dad, I know you want to pursue your dream, but can you come back home? And she like threw her mom under the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable.
It was. Also, the random like 4-part harmony that comes in at the end.
And there's only 2 people singing. And then eventually Jenny and Sarah joined in. But
Yeah.
it had already started.
Yeah.
Editing.
Yeah.
Was missed there.
Very much so. Oh my gosh, can we talk about also when she made it into the competition or whatever and she's coming home from school and there's the choir director, her mom, and her grandmother standing on the porch singing. And then all of a sudden her mom gets her own little solo moment.
That was so awful.
Yeah. It was the last thing that I'll say aesthetically that I did like was, because I count decorations, I really liked the indoor decorations when you saw them. And it gave like this small town, mountain town feeling for Christmas. And I really enjoyed that. So there's this one, it was the final scene that I have in mind with the long countertop with the sink. And then it had like the garland up top. Then it had like that like woodsy Christmas tablecloth and whatever.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
And I liked that look. But there wasn't a lot of it, so I couldn't comment too much on it.
Yeah. It was pretty average, and averagely all over the place.
Yes.
Okay, so next category, overall Christmas cheer.
I gave it 1.5 candy canes out of 5.
I gave it half a candy cane.
Half a candy cane?
Yes.
Wow. I can see it.
I literally saw no Christmas cheer at all.
That's fair. I was trying to be generous, but I felt like any cheer that did come was from the supporting characters, and that's why we didn't get enough of it. You know what I mean? Like, I think the help from the music director.
Yeah.
And in some cases, I have a weird feeling about Sarah, the grandma, but she did support Grace in her dream. And Dolly Parton, I gave her due credit because she was She was the only one that really spoke to Grace with some words of wisdom, you know?
Yeah.
And she was just there, like, for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally
So
2 seconds.
I also liked the arrangement at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm, me too.
With the Christmas music.
Yeah.
As disjointed as that looked, it sounded great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked the choir at the church when they were singing. I did like the decorations that you noted at the end. But other than that, I really didn't see much cheer. Like, yeah, you were like, I see something in Sarah, but I was like, this woman is like allowing Grace to believe this delusion. Like,
that is true.
she was basically setting Grace up to embarrass herself. Because if I would have read that song, I would have been like, so, like, maybe let's workshop this a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like, she's really talented. She's putting everything out there. Or, well, she actually said her heart is breaking, which you could tell in those lyrics. You certainly could.
I would have been like, maybe you should save that for your parents.
Yeah.
And do something else for the competition.
Absolutely. That's very smart of you. And then I hated how selfish Jenny was. Like, everything was just always about her. Like, the way that she didn't want Grace pursuing music at all because Danny hurt her. Because Danny likes music. Like,
she was also, like, when she wanted her way, she was very destructive with her words. Mm-hmm. Like, she aimed to tear someone down. I did not like that about her. Should put that in main characters.
Yeah.
Just didn't like Jenny.
Yeah. She was very selfish, so that brought down the cheer. And so was Danny. Like,
Danny was so selfish too, yeah.
He was disgusting.
Yeah.
Honestly, I did not like him. Like, when first off, he sees his daughter walking, he was going to turn left, and so he would pass her, and then instead he turns right and just, like, literally leaves her in his dust.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
And then secondly, she, like, makes it into the competition, and that guy at that bar was like, oh, you know, this girl has, like, your same last name. And he's like, well, of course she does. That's my daughter. And he's like, the guy was like, why didn't you tell us? And he's like, guys, I wanted to surprise you. Like,
yeah. And it was like, then he wanted to tell Grace. He shows up to the competition. He goes, I'm not here just because, like, you might win, or even if you win or you lose. Like, I'm here just because I'm your dad. And I'm like, that's great. Where were you the other 13 years of her life?
Well, they were only separated for 3.
Oh. They really made it seem like he was not in the picture at all.
Yeah. They did. But it was only 3 years.
That flew over my head.
Yeah.
The way that Jenny treats this situation, and even Grace, just everyone.
They act like he's dead.
Like, he just left him in the dust.
Yeah.
Like, before she was born. Like, I thought Jenny was pregnant with Grace, and then he was just like, I'm going to pursue my music dream. Gets out of there.
Yeah.
That's even worse that he left in the middle of her childhood.
Yeah, and he is, like, a failing musician.
Guys, he gets, like...
He's a bartender, and he just performs at the bar that he works at.
Gets, like, just a few tips.
And he was like... He's just, he's disgusting. I can talk more about him in supporting characters.
Yes.
But yeah, I just, like, I didn't like how selfish everybody seemed. And then even, like, the choir director, he was like, he didn't actually, like, help her out that much. He was like, you're going to teach yourself how to play the guitar, and then I'll give you tips and pointers for 30 minutes after rehearsal once a week. But he's like, you're going to teach yourself. That's all I'm gonna help you
That
with.
is true.
I was like, okay.
It was just a weird tone the entire time. So obviously, like, we couldn't get into the warm, fuzzy feelings.
Yeah. No. And then there was literally the only mention of Christmas was that they celebrated Christmas. Grace received a Christmas present that was meant to be used to take her away from music.
Yeah.
And then the competition happened around Christmas time, and there was some Christmas decorations.
And then at the very end, they had, like, Christmas dinner.
So in order for it to be considered a Christmas story, they had, like, 5 sprinkles of Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was one of those movies where you're like, how is this a Christmas movie?
How is it a musical? That was the thing that I'll put it in cringe. But how is this a musical?
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I'm very looking forward to that conversation.
Supporting characters.
What'd you give them?
I felt like I was generous again. I gave him 1.5 candy canes.
I gave him half a candy cane.
I figured that you were going to do that.
I literally only gave half to her best friend.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about him.
Yeah, how dare you? He was the only good part of the movie.
But he was only in there for 5 seconds.
Exactly. Yeah. Everybody else sucks.
I remember seeing him and I was like, who's he? And then I was like, oh, I like him. And then he was gone. Like, the rest of the movie. No, the supporting characters that we had, they were unnecessary, and I felt like they were unnecessary because they were extremely underdeveloped.
Yes.
We had names, we had a backstory. It was like as if you were trying to make up a fake profile.
Yeah.
And you only had, like, the basic information. Like, you didn't create, like, this whole backstory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like all of the characters were just like an inch deep. Like, that's as much as we got to know about them.
And then I think that was because they couldn't figure out what they were trying to do in this movie. You know, there was a lot of good avenues I felt like they could have gone. Like, if you focused on one, like, if you focused on the parent-daughter struggle of Jenny and Grace, and even Sarah and Jenny, like, just focused on that storyline. Yeah. How do you repair that? That could have been a good, touching storyline. Take out Danny, take out the choir director.
Yeah.
No, none of that. Or you could have gone the other way, where you could have focused more on Jenny and letting go of her daughter and falling in love with someone else, with the choir director, which I thought I wouldn't have liked that.
I thought that's how it was going to go.
I thought that's how it was going to go too. I wouldn't have liked it as much as focusing on the girls, but I would have liked it better.
Yeah. I agree.
I did not want a situation where Danny and Jenny got back together, and that's what we got.
Yeah. Danny was just, so gross.
He's
what
awful.
Brought the score down so much, because I was like, ew, and then you just show up. You just show up.
You show up and then you just start living life with them like you weren't gone.
And then on top of that, like, he wasn't that far, I don't think.
No.
But he, like, literally left them with a storage unit that he wasn't paying the bills on. And then, like, all of this stuff, like, he just, like, left them. And then he just shows up.
Well, then, it also makes their conversation between Jenny and Danny even more gross. Because I was looking at it like they were young and she was pregnant, and he's like, well, I want to go pursue music. You should have come with me. You know, where they didn't have an established life yet. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. But now, hearing that he was only...
No, Grace was definitely, like, 9 to 11 years old.
And so that case, she wasn't going to pick up and leave the life that they had with their growing child so you can pursue some silly music dream.
Yeah.
And like, you were just like, well, then I'm leaving. How awful is that? Yeah. And then you were just like MIA for 3 years of her life?
And then you just show up. And then Jenny just takes him back.
And that also, you know why I was also confused? Because Grace was like, I don't know him well enough to be mad at him. She said that to Jenny at one point. So that's why I thought he was just gone.
No, yeah, you really thought.
Yeah.
But, like, there multiple times Jenny's like, well, he hasn't been here in 3 years. What makes you think he's going to show up now?
Oh. How interesting. This is such a confusing movie.
So what's your total?
8.5 candy canes out of 25.
Mine is 8 candy canes out of 25.
So that gives us an average total of 8.25 candy canes out of 25.
But then
we have the cringe factor.
Dun, dun, dun. So what was your cringe score?
I gave it 2 icicles out of 5.
I gave it 2.5 icicles out of 5.
That is fair.
It was so awful. It was so cringy.
It was so cringy.
And we've touched on a lot of it. Like, how is it a musical?
How? That made me so mad. And then it was like, again, it was like the writers of this movie were like, because it was like the first 30 to 45 minutes, there was one musical number
Literally.
at the beginning. And then it was just this movie. And I'm like, how is this a musical? And then they're like, oh crap, guys, we forgot music. And then all of a sudden it was like, boom, 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 boom. All these songs are just being sung.
Yeah, and it's actually just like, they had like the script already. And they were like, okay, we got to turn this into a song. And so it was just like the script, what they were saying for the script in song form.
Yeah.
And not very well done. Like, there's like Broadway musicals where the script is sung. But that's how it's
written.
Like, it's written well.
Yeah.
This? No.
No. They're like, how can we fit some more music in here? Okay, let's have Jenny
on the porch.
Yeah.
Singing when they have not sang a single word in this movie.
So that they can let Grace know that she made it into the competition. As if she would know from that point. Because I would sit there and I would be looking at them like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
But
and then what factored into my cringe score was, how is it a Christmas movie?
Yes. Yes. Like, I don't know.
It's a disgrace to Christmas movies. If
It
you're
really
ever
is.
going to make a Christmas movie, make it about Christmas. I'm tired of this. Or if you're
gonna have the drama, because I know Christmas movies that aren't like, it's Christmas, it's about Christmas, but it's like in Christmas time, there is some drama and it's done really well. Like, you either had to go all in on the drama and then just risk like Christmas being put in the back burner, but they know it's there.
Yeah.
Or you focused on the Christmas part, but it was like, the drama was all over the place, so we couldn't be engaged in it.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
they were like, let's just throw Christmas in the title and it'll work.
Yeah.
And then finally, the kiss between the parents.
Oh my.
That made me so mad. And again, I should have commented on Sarah more. Sarah's just sitting there being like, yay.
Yeah, where was Sarah?
She was there.
I know, but like, we don't see her.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's just totally okay with it.
Yeah.
I don't even know. And then like, it was so cringy.
It was
rough. So cringy. I like covered my eyes.
Yeah. It was definitely
cringy.
It was definitely like what you said before, where there wasn't a lot of meat to the plot, so then it was like added cringiness. But instead of like, it wasn't that there wasn't any meat. It was just like so confusing that they're like, here, let's just sprinkle this here, sprinkle that there, sprinkle this. It's like they took what they thought everyone would like in a Christmas movie and just put it in the movie without any organization. And then it was like all of the cringiness in one.
Yeah. And I think like what the issue was that it was supposed to be an entire year. A year's worth of like growth and drama and like reconciliation and all this stuff. But it was so shallow that it felt like it was just a week.
Yeah.
Between everything. And like it wasn't really like a year's worth of anything.
Yeah.
Going on.
Speaking of that, going back to that, how is a competition lasting for an entire year?
No. It's not. So I think she applied sometime in the summer.
That's still a very long time.
Yeah, they don't give us like exact dates and stuff, but it felt summertime-ish when she submitted her song, and then like fallish when they discovered the finalist. But yeah, it's still a very long time, like so many months.
Well, I was like, there's of her not even singing or competing, like there's no like rounds. It's not like American Idol where you go in and you audition and then you go through all these rounds and they're videotaping the whole thing. No, it's just one song and they're sifting through, and then they have this Christmas Eve finalist concert. What? But that's insane. Like, who thought of this? Because have you not seen competition shows? They're in and out in like, what, 10 weeks?
Yeah. But yeah, and then we have to mention the song again. It was literally, so like the choir director encouraged her to like get her inspiration for her song from her diary, and like encouraged her to open her diary. And her song was literally like a diary entry. It was awful.
It was like, again, she just, yeah, like you said, she just aired out all of her dirty laundry.
All of it, dude. All of it. And her parents at the end are, "I'm so proud of you." I was like, you know what she just said about you?
Yeah, I would have been like, well, I'm glad we had that talk, you know?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like, should we go chat about it now, finally?
Yeah. It was awful.
That was a bit much. Well, I feel like they've heard the song because she was practicing it in the bus on the way. She was literally like, they were talking to her, and there's that weird moment where her grandmother was like, you can't grow muscles in your eyelids, and you're something.
And your vocal cords, so if you have it,
or
you
your
just
neck, yeah.
Yeah, if you have it, you just have it, essentially.
Yeah. That was so weird. But she's like, "Guys, I just want to like practice my song in peace." So they've heard it.
So her mom's just sitting there on the bus listening to her essentially diss her in a flowery way.
Yes.
And she's just like, "I'm proud of my daughter."
Yes.
That's awful.
Yes. 'Twas tough.
It was. So now we have an average cringe. We didn't tell you guys. We have an average cringe of 2.25 icicles out of 5. Slash that from our already meager 8.25 candy canes. And that gives us a total of 6 candy canes out of 25.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't discourage you guys from watching it. I would just say it's a waste of time.
There's better movies out there.
Yeah. But, I mean, experience it for yourself if you want to. It's just a hot mess.
Yeah, just be ready for a wildly shallow ride.
Looking at our other scores, for sure, The Nightmare Before Christmas is moving on to playoffs because they are in first place with 21.25 candy canes out of 25. In second place, we have the Mistletones with an overall of 14.25 candy canes out of 25. And coming up in the rear is A Country Christmas Story with 6 candy canes out of 25.
This really scares me because we have more Lifetime movies
I'm worried.
in the future.
Yeah.
Hopefully they all are just, we have to be paid and then we have to pivot. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
We will suffer through.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
We will.
I'm kind of that person anyways. Like, if it's a terrible movie, I'm still going to watch it to the end.
Yeah. Because I want to know what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anywho, make sure that you like and subscribe. Leave a review. Let us know what else you guys want to see. And let us know if you do start a movie watching book club. I'll come join.
Yeah.
Well, a movie watching club, I guess.
And tune in next week. We'll be looking at a girl who loves to write music, loves singing, and she unfortunately gets dumped on Christmas and ends up in her small town. What's gonna happen? Who knows? This is Christmas Harmony. You can watch it on Plex TV. It's free, so don't worry about it. You just click on right ahead and watch that movie. All right. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Adriana.
Have a holly jolly day. Bye.